The signal came on a Tuesday. Dr. Alan Burke rubbed his tired eyes as the computer alert chimed for the third time. At first, he thought it was a glitch in the Global Space Initiative's Deep Space Monitoring System. By the fourth chime, he knew it wasn't. "Someone get me a confirmation on this," Alan called across the dimly lit control room. His team of scientists scrambled to their stations, fingers flying across keyboards as they worked to verify what their instruments were telling them. Jane, his senior analyst, looked up with wide eyes. "It's structured, Dr. Burke. Definitely artificial, and definitely not from Earth." After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally received proof they weren't alone. The message came from a star system 17 light-years away, encoded in a pattern that could only be deliberate. Within hours, Alan's team had the basics figured out: a greeting, coordinates, and what appeared to be a timeline for arrival. "They're coming here?" asked Lieutenant Olivia Reeves, the military liaison assigned to the GSI facility. She stood with perfect posture beside Alan's desk, her dark uniform a stark contrast to the scientist's casual attire. Alan nodded. 3 months from now, if our translation is correct." The next few weeks passed in a blur of preparation. World leaders convened emergency meetings, military forces were placed on high alert, and Alan's team worked around the clock to learn more about their visitors. The public reaction swung wildly between celebration and panic. When the day finally arrived, a sleek vessel entered Earth's orbit with barely a ripple in the atmosphere. It hovered silently above the United Nations headquarters in New York, where a delegation of Earth's finest waited to greet them. The Xerexians, as they called themselves, appeared almost human. Tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Their leader, Ambassador Elzar, spoke perfect English through a translation device. "We come in peace," he said, extending four-fingered hands in what seemed like a universal gesture of goodwill. "The Xerexian collective wishes to establish diplomatic relations with Earth." For 3 days, the talks proceeded smoothly. The aliens shared limited technology and cultural information while carefully asking questions about human society. Alan found them fascinating, but noticed something odd about their interest in Earth's military capabilities and resource management. On the 4th day, during a private dinner with high-ranking officials, Alan overheard a conversation between 2 Xerexians who didn't realize their translation devices were still active. "These humans are far more advanced than intelligence suggested," one said. "The Council will not be pleased." "The beacons must be placed before they detect our true purpose," replied the other. "Their unpredictable nature makes them dangerous. The gods have deemed it so." Alan caught Olivia's eye across the room. She'd heard it too. That night, satellite operators detected small objects being deployed from the Xerexian ship, devices that began positioning themselves around Earth's strategic locations. When confronted the next morning, Ambassador Elzar's demeanor changed instantly. "Your species is a threat to galactic stability," he declared coldly. "Humans lack divine guidance, yet advance too quickly. The collective cannot allow this to continue." Chaos erupted in the meeting hall. The Xerexians produced weapons seemingly from nowhere, firing energy pulses that turned 3 diplomats to ash. Security forces responded, but their bullets seemed ineffective against the aliens' personal shields. Olivia moved with military precision, tackling one Xerexian who had become separated from the others. Alan grabbed a fallen alien device and activated it instinctively, creating a barrier that gave them cover to escape with their captive. As they fled the building, the Xerexian ship above began emitting a pulsing light. Moments later, it disappeared, leaving behind only the orbital devices and a chilling message broadcast worldwide. "We will return. The gods have spoken. Humanity must be contained." 3 weeks after the Xerexian attack, the world had changed. Nations that once pointed weapons at each other now worked together under the newly formed Terran Defense Alliance. The alien threat had accomplished what decades of diplomacy couldn't: true global unity. Alan wiped sweat from his brow as he studied the alien technology salvaged from the attack. His makeshift lab, formerly a high school gymnasium, buzzed with activity as scientists from around the world collaborated on understanding the enemy. "Try connecting that power source to the communication node again," he told Dr. Maya Peterson, who had flown in from the West Coast Advanced Research Center 2 days after the attack. Her expertise in quantum electronics had proven invaluable. Maya adjusted her safety goggles and made the connection. The device hummed to life, projecting holographic symbols into the air. "We're getting somewhere," she said, her tired face brightening. "This looks like their navigational database." Across the base, in a reinforced bunker below ground, Lieutenant Olivia Reeves faced the captured Xeraxian. They had learned his name was Krell, a mid-ranking officer in what appeared to be their equivalent of a navy. "Let's try again," Olivia said, sliding a cup of water across the table. "Why does your people's leadership consider humans dangerous?" Krell's iridescent skin had dulled during captivity, but his four-fingered hands remained steady as he took the cup. After weeks of resistance, he had begun to talk. "You don't understand. It's not our leadership. It's the gods who have deemed your species a threat." "Gods?" Olivia leaned forward. "You mean actual deities?" Krell made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Arcturians have guided our civilization for 10,000 years. Their power is beyond your comprehension. They see all possible futures, and in too many, humanity brings chaos to the galactic order. Because we don't have these gods guiding us." "Precisely." Krell's multifaceted eyes fixed on her. "You advance rapidly without divine wisdom to temper your development. It frightens them." Back in the lab, Alan and Maya finally cracked the encryption on the Xeraxian communication records. The holographic display now showed star maps and fleet movements. "This is bigger than we thought," Alan muttered, scanning the data. "Their empire spans dozens of star systems, all united in worship of these Arcturian beings." Maya pointed to a flashing icon. "What's this cluster here?" Alan expanded the image. I think those are ships. Hundreds of them, gathering at the edge of our solar system." The TDA headquarters erupted into frantic activity when the news broke. Military leaders from every nation crowded into the command center as Alan and Maya presented their findings. "The good news is we've reverse-engineered enough of their technology to enhance our defenses," Alan explained, displaying schematics for modified shield generators and weapon systems. "And the bad news?" asked General Wilson, the TDA's newly appointed commander. "They'll be here in 3 months with a force 50 times larger than the scout ship we encountered." That evening, Olivia brought Krell to the lab, hoping his knowledge could help their preparations. To everyone's surprise, the aliens studied their modifications with growing interest. "You've improved their designs," he said, examining a shield emitter. "Impossible." "Not for humans," Maya replied with a hint of pride. Something shifted in Krell's demeanor. Perhaps the gods are right to fear you." Over the following weeks, Krell revealed more about Xeraxian tactics and technology, seemingly torn between loyalty to his people and a growing respect for humanity's ingenuity. As Earth prepared for war, factories worldwide began producing the modified alien technology. Space platforms were hastily constructed, and a fleet of Earth. Captain Samuel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiant, Earth's largest warship built with modified Xeraxian technology. Through the viewport, he watched as the rest of humanity's hastily assembled fleet moved into defensive positions around the planet. 47 ships total, barely a fraction of what they would soon face. "Status report," Samuel ordered, his voice calm despite the tension gripping his crew. "All systems operational, Captain," his executive officer replied. "Shield enhancements at full power, weapon systems charged." Samuel nodded. 6 months of frantic preparation had led to this moment. The fleet represented the best Earth could muster, a combination of repurposed civilian spacecraft and new vessels built with alien technology. "They're here," announced the sensor officer. The void beyond Neptune flickered as hundreds of Zeraxian warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic sheen that seemed to shift colors in the distant sunlight. In the TDA command center on Earth, Alan and Maya watched the incoming fleet on massive screens. Surrounding them, military leaders and scientists monitored the situation with grim faces. "Those ships are bigger than we expected," Maya said, her fingers flying across her console. "Energy readings are off the charts." Alan activated the communication link. "Captain Hayes, the lead ships appear to have enhanced shield generators. Target the smaller vessels first." On the Defiant, Samuel acknowledged the advice. "Battle formation Delta. Remember your training and stay in your designated zones." The Earth fleet spread out, following a pattern designed to maximize their limited numbers against the overwhelming Zeraxian force. Samuel had drilled his pilots relentlessly on the tactic, appearing to retreat, then striking from unexpected angles. The first Zeraxian shots crossed the void brilliant energy beams that could vaporize a city. Earth's ships scattered, their enhanced shields absorbing impacts that would have destroyed them instantly without Alan and Maya's modifications. "Return fire," Samuel ordered. The Defiant shuddered as its main cannon discharged, the beams slicing through space and striking a Zeraxian cruiser. The alien ship's shields flickered but held. Again. "Same target," Samuel commanded. 3 Earth vessels coordinated their attack, concentrating fire on the same point. This time, the Zeraxian shield collapsed, and the ship erupted into a brilliant explosion. A cheer went up across the communication channels, but Samuel knew it was just one of hundreds. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Olivia Reeves led a Special Forces team aboard a stealth shuttle approaching the Zeraxian command vessel. Her mission: infiltrate and retrieve tactical data that could give Earth an edge. "Approaching target," her pilot whispered, as if the enemy might hear them through the vacuum of space. "Their detection grid hasn't spotted us." Olivia checked her modified armor one last time. "Remember, we have 20 minutes to get in and out before their patrol cycle completes." The shuttle attached to the Zeraxian vessel's hull, magnetic clamps securing it in place. Using cutting tools based on alien technology, they created an entry point and slipped inside. Back in the main battle, Samuel's tactics were working better than expected. The Zeraxians seemed confused by the unpredictable movements of Earth's ships, their formations breaking as they try to adapt. "They're fighting like they've never faced an enemy who doesn't follow standard patterns," Samuel realized. "Push the advantage. All ships implement random maneuver protocol." Earth vessels began moving in seemingly chaotic patterns, firing from positions the Zeraxians couldn't predict. Though outnumbered, they were inflicting significant damage. Aboard the enemy command ship, Olivia's team reached the central data hub. They planted explosive charges as cover while downloading crucial tactical information. "We've got it," Olivia reported through her secure comm channel. "Withdrawing now." As they escaped, the explosions created confusion among the Zeraxian command structure. Without clear leadership, their attack faltered further. After 18 hours of brutal combat, the Zeraxian fleet suddenly began to retreat, pulling back beyond Neptune's orbit. On the Defiant's damaged bridge, Samuel watched in disbelief. "They're running." "Not running." Alan's voice came through the comm. "Regrouping. But we've shown them something they didn't expect." Samuel nodded, surveying his battered but unbroken fleet. "We've shown them that humans fight back." 2 weeks after humanity's unexpected victory, Alan stared at the sensor readings with growing unease. The Zeraxian fleet remained at the edge of the solar system, but they hadn't retreated completely. Instead, they had formed a wide perimeter, as if waiting for something. "They're not regrouping for another attack," Alan told Maya as she joined him at the monitoring station. "They're waiting." "For reinforcements?" she asked, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I think it's worse than that." Alan's prediction proved correct 3 days later when massive energy distortions appeared near Jupiter. The readings were unlike anything their instruments had ever detected. Reality itself seemed to bend and warp. "What am I looking at?" General Wilson demanded, as the command center screens filled with the strange phenomena. "Something is coming through," Alan explained. "And whatever it is, it's not using any propulsion system we understand." 3 enormous vessels emerged from the distortions. Unlike the sleek, metallic design of Xeraxian ships, these were organic in appearance, vast structures that seemed to pulse with internal light. Each was larger than Earth's moon. Krell, who had been helping the defense efforts, fell to his knees when the images appeared on screen. "The divine vessels," he whispered, his alien features showing what could only be described as religious awe. "The Arcturians have come themselves. Those are your gods?" Olivia asked, helping the alien back to his feet. "The voices of the divine," Krell replied. "Physical manifestations of beings that exist beyond normal space and time." As if responding to his words, a wave of energy washed over the planet. Every electronic screen, from military displays to civilian phones, showed the same image. A tall, luminous being with features that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. "People of Earth," the being spoke, its voice somehow understandable in every language simultaneously. "We are the Arcturians, guardians of galactic harmony. Your resistance against our servants was impressive but futile. We have watched your kind for centuries. Your unpredictability and aggression make you a danger to all life." In the command center, Maya suddenly clutched her head. "Something's scanning us," she gasped. "I can feel it in my mind." Others reported the same sensation, a presence sifting through their thoughts like fingers through sand. "We offer you a choice," the Arcturian continued. "Submit to our guidance, and we will reshape your civilization into a harmonious part of the galactic community. Refuse, and we will be forced to cleanse your solar system entirely." The transmission ended, leaving a stunned silence across the planet. "They're giving us 48 hours to respond," General Wilson announced, reading from a separate message sent to military channels. Later that evening, Alan found Krell sitting alone in the facility's observation dome, staring at Jupiter where the divine vessels hovered. "All my life, I've worshipped them," Krell said without turning. "But something feels wrong." "What do you mean?" Alan asked, sitting beside the alien. "The Arcturians I grew up learning about were wise and merciful. These beings," Krell hesitated, "they seem afraid of you." "Gods shouldn't fear mortals," Alan mused. "Exactly." Krell turned to face him. "Unless they aren't gods at all." That night, Alan, Maya, and Olivia pored over the sensor data from the divine vessels. What they discovered shocked them. Powerful energy fields that could affect brain activity, creating hallucinations, and manipulating perception. "They're using technology to appear godlike," Maya realized. "Advanced, yes, but not supernatural." Olivia leaned forward. "If they're not gods, they can be fought." The next morning, they presented their findings to Earth's leadership. The evidence was compelling. The Arcturians were physically powerful aliens using advanced technology and psychological warfare to control other species. "We need to expose their deception," Alan argued. "If the Xeraxians see their gods are frauds, their entire reason for fighting us collapses." As Earth prepared its response to the ultimatum, Samuel's voice came through on a secure channel from the Defiant. "We've analyzed the divine vessel's energy patterns," he reported. "There's a fluctuation cycle we might exploit, if you can build something to disrupt it." Alan and Maya exchanged determined looks. "We're already on it," Alan replied. "We're not bowing to false gods. These disruptors need to be placed inside their shields to work," Maya explained, holding up a device no larger than a coffee mug. "Once activated, they'll create a cascade effect that should reveal the Arcturians' true nature." Alan nodded as he examined the 12 identical devices they had built over the past 3 days. Each contained components salvaged from Xeraxian technology, modified using principles Maya had theorized. "Can we be certain they'll work?" General Wilson asked, skepticism clear in his voice. "No," Alan admitted, "but it's our best shot." The plan was daring, perhaps suicidal. Captain Samuel Hayes would lead an assault on the smallest divine vessel, creating a distraction, while Lieutenant Olivia Reeves and her Special Forces team infiltrated the massive ship to plant the disruptors at key points. In the briefing room, Samuel addressed the pilots chosen for the mission. "We're not trying to defeat the vessel," he explained, pointing to strategic areas on the holographic display. "We just need to keep their attention focused on us." "What about their mind-scanning abilities?" asked one of the pilots. "Won't they know what we're planning?" "That's why we're bringing him," Samuel replied, gesturing to Krell, who stood awkwardly at the back of the room. The Xeraxian stepped forward. "My people have mental barriers against Arcturian scanning. It's considered sacrilege to hide thoughts from gods, but all warriors are trained to protect tactical information." He paused. "I can teach you basic techniques." 6 hours later, the mission launched. The Defiant led a small fleet of Earth's fastest ships toward Jupiter, while Olivia's team followed in a modified stealth shuttle with Krell as their guide. "Remember, their technology creates the illusion of godhood," Olivia reminded her team as they approached the massive vessel. "No matter what you see or hear, it's not divine. It's just advanced science." The divine vessel loomed before them, its surface shifting with patterns of light that seemed alive. As Samuel's fleet engaged, drawing the Arcturians' attention with a barrage of weapons fire, the stealth shuttle slipped toward a secondary access point Krell had identified. "There," Krell pointed. "That section serves as an energy exchange port. The defenses are minimal." The shuttle attached to the vessel's hull, and Olivia's team cut their way inside. The interior was nothing like they'd expected. Organic-looking corridors pulsed with bioluminescent light, and the air carried strange scents none of them could identify. "Plant the first disruptor here," Maya instructed through their comms. "It needs to be connected to their power distribution system." As they moved deeper into the vessel, the team faced bizarre defenses. Sections of corridors seemed to shift and change direction. Phantom enemies appeared and vanished. Some team members reported hearing voices calling their names. "It's all illusion," Olivia reminded them firmly. "Focus on what you can physically touch." Outside, Samuel's fleet danced through space, drawing fire from the divine vessel while avoiding its devastating weapons. The Defiant took heavy damage, but continued to lead the attack, its modified shields holding just long enough to keep the massive alien ship distracted. Inside, Olivia's team successfully planted 10 of the 12 disruptors. As they approached the final location, the vessel's central chamber, they encountered their first Arcturian. The being stood 3 meters tall, glowing with inner light that made it painful to look at directly. Its form shifted continuously, never settling on a fixed appearance. "Heretics," it spoke, the word echoing painfully in their minds. "You dare to challenge divinity." Krell stepped forward, visibly trembling but determined. "We challenge false gods." The Arcturian raised a limb, and Krell fell to his knees in agony. Seizing the opportunity, Olivia launched the final 2 disruptors past the being. They attached to the chamber's central pillar and activated. A wave of energy pulsed outward. The glowing Arcturian flickered like a faulty hologram, then stabilized, but completely transformed. In place of the majestic being stood a small gray creature with oversized eyes and a frail body, surrounded by complex technological equipment. "What have you done?" it shrieked, its voice now high-pitched and ordinary. The effect spread throughout the vessel and transmitted to the other divine vessels. Across the battlefield, the illusion of godhood collapsed. "Look at your gods now," Samuel broadcast to the watching Xeraxian fleet. On screens throughout the solar system, humans and aliens alike saw the truth. The Arcturians were physically unimpressive beings who had used advanced technology to enslave countless species through false divinity. The Xeraxian fleet fell into chaos as their religious foundation crumbled before their eyes. "We never questioned their divinity," Vazril said. his iridescent skin catching the light as he gestured to the star map. For 10,000 years, my people believed the Arcturians were gods who guided us to greatness. The Zyraxian commander had defected along with nearly a third of the alien fleet after the exposure of the Arcturians' true form. Now he stood in Earth's war room, helping plan the next phase of resistance. Alan studied the star chart, where Vazril had marked Arcturian strongholds across the galaxy. They control this much territory. Through puppet species like mine, yes, Vazril replied. The Zyraxian collective is just one of dozens of civilizations they manipulate through false religion. In the 3 weeks since the battle at Jupiter, Earth had gained unexpected allies. The remaining divine vessels had retreated, but not before broadcasting threats of annihilation. The Arcturians, their godly facade shattered, had promised to return with enough force to destroy the solar system completely. Maya entered the room, carrying data tablets. "We've finished analyzing the technology from the disabled Arcturian ship," she announced. "It's incredible. They've mastered manipulation of perception on a quantum level." "Can we use any of it?" General Wilson asked. "Better than that," Maya smiled. "We can counter it completely." Outside the meeting room, Olivia supervised training exercises where human soldiers worked alongside Zyraxian defectors. Despite centuries of cultural differences, they found common ground in combat techniques and shared determination. "Your people adapt quickly," Krell commented as he watched a group practicing with modified Zyraxian weapons. "We've had lots of practice fighting each other," Olivia replied with a grim smile. "Now we finally have a worthier opponent." That evening, an unexpected signal reached Earth's communication array. Then another, and another. "We're receiving transmissions from 17 different species," the communications officer reported to the War Council, all reaching out after hearing about what happened at Jupiter. The Arcturians' deception was unraveling across the galaxy. Species that had been subjugated for generations were questioning their gods and looking to humanity. The species that had exposed the truth. "They want to know how we resisted," Samuel explained as he joined the council, fresh from patrolling the system's edge in the repaired Defiant. "Some are already fighting back against Arcturian control on their worlds." Alan and Maya worked with Vazril day and night, combining human ingenuity with Zyraxian knowledge to develop weapons effective against the Arcturians. Other alien defectors contributed their specialties, creating a technological revolution unlike anything Earth had seen. "Why do they fear humans specifically?" Alan asked Vazril one night, as they worked on a prototype. "Your unpredictability," the alien commander replied. "Most species follow logical paths of development, making them easy to control. Humans make intuitive leaps no algorithm can predict. The Arcturians can't control what they can't anticipate." A month later, Maya made the breakthrough they needed. Working with quantum principles beyond current human science, she developed a device that could neutralize the Arcturians' ability to manipulate perception and energy. "It's not just a weapon," she explained to the council. "It's a counter-signal that breaks their connection to something they call the Overmind, a central intelligence that coordinates all Arcturian activities." Alan examined the schematics. "This could work, but we'd need to deploy it at their central hub. According to Vazril's intelligence, that's in the Andromeda galaxy." "Then that's where we'll go," Samuel stated firmly. Representatives from the newly formed coalition gathered on Earth to plan the decisive strike. Ships arrived from distant stars, bringing allies who until recently had never known freedom from their divine masters. As the combined fleet took shape in orbit, growing larger each day, Alan stood at a viewport watching alien vessels integrate with human ships. "We've come so far in such a short time," Maya said, joining him at the window. Alan nodded. "The Arcturians made one fundamental mistake." "What's that?" "They threatened our extinction," he replied simply. "Nothing unites humans like a common enemy." The final preparations were made. Maya's device, now called the Liberator, was installed aboard Samuel's flagship. Olivia's Special Forces team, expanded to include elite warriors from 7 species, trained for the infiltration mission. As the Coalition fleet prepared to depart, a message arrived from yet another alien civilization, seeking to join their cause. The Arcturians are gathering their full might, General Wilson announced to the War Council. Our scouts report they're stripping defenses from across their territory to amass a force unlike anything we've faced. Samuel stood, his face resolute. Then it's time to bring the fight to them. The journey to Andromeda took 3 weeks using the modified Zeraxian jump drives. Samuel stood on the bridge of his flagship, now named Unity, watching as the massive Coalition fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 5,000 ships from 23 species, united by a common enemy and the leadership of humanity. Arcturian home system directly ahead. His navigation officer reported. Massive energy signatures detected. The view screen showed their destination, a dense cluster of stars surrounding a pulsing blue giant. Around it orbited what could only be described as a mechanical web, stretching millions of kilometers across space. The Overmind, Alan said softly. Beside him, Maya clutched the control tablet for the Liberator device they had developed. Vazril stepped forward, his face grim. Their defense fleet is twice the size we anticipated, nearly 20,000 vessels. Samuel's expression remained calm. The plan doesn't change. We divide their attention while Lieutenant Reeves' team delivers the Liberator to the central hub. The battle began without warning or ultimatum. The Arcturian fleet surged forward, their weapons cutting through space with terrible destructive power. The Coalition forces scattered into the formation they had practiced, seemingly chaotic, but following a pattern the humans had designed. They can't predict our movements, Samuel observed as the first wave of Arcturian attacks missed their targets. Their algorithms are failing against human battle tactics. Alan and Maya coordinated from the command center, directing adjustments to shields and weapons as they learned more about the enemy's capabilities. Krell worked alongside them, interpreting Arcturian communications they intercepted. They're confused, Krell reported. They keep referring to pattern anomalies in our approach. Meanwhile, Olivia's stealth craft slipped through the chaos of battle, using the fighting as cover to approach the central hub of the Overmind. Her team included specialists from 7 different species, each chosen for unique skills. The entry point should be ahead, Vazril's daughter Nera told Olivia, pointing to a section of the massive structure where energy patterns flowed inward. As they docked against the hub's outer shell and cut their way inside, the battle outside intensified. Samuel's forces pressed forward despite taking heavy losses, keeping the Arcturians focused on the main attack. Inside the Overmind hub, Olivia's team faced bizarre defenses, corridors that shifted and changed, security systems that attacked the mind rather than the body, and automated guardians that could anticipate their movements. "They're reading our thoughts," one team member gasped as another trap nearly caught them. "Not mine," said the Ceridian warrior, whose species had natural mental shielding. She took the lead, guiding them deeper into the structure. At the heart of the battle, Samuel's flagship took a direct hit that crippled its main systems. "Reroute power to forward shields," he ordered calmly as fires broke out around the bridge. "Keep pressing forward." Alan's voice came through the damaged communication system. "Olivia's team has reached the central chamber. They need 3 more minutes to set up the Liberator." "We'll give them 5, Samuel replied, ordering the fleet to execute their most aggressive maneuver yet. In the Overmind's core, Olivia stared at what appeared to be a vast brain-like structure suspended in a glowing blue liquid. Countless cables and tubes connected it to the surrounding machinery. "This is it," Maya guided through their comms, "the biological-technological hybrid that controls all Arcturian power. Plant the Liberator at the main junction point." As they worked to position the device, a section of the wall dissolved, revealing 3 Arcturians. Without their perceptual manipulation technology, they appeared as they truly were, small gray beings with oversized heads and delicate limbs. "Your species will never understand true order," one spoke, its voice high and strained without technological enhancement. The galaxy requires control to survive. Olivia met its large eyes without flinching. What it requires is freedom. The Liberator activated with a pulse of energy that spread throughout the Overmind structure. The Arcturians screamed, clutching their heads as their connection to the collective consciousness was severed. Across the battlefield, Arcturian ships suddenly lost coordination, their perfect formations dissolving into confusion. Without the central intelligence guiding them, each vessel operated independently, losing the advantage of their unified strategy. "It's working," Alan shouted as they watched from the command center. "Their fleet is falling into disarray." Within hours, the tide of battle had turned completely. Coalition forces moved with purpose and coordination, while the Arcturians, for the first time in millennia, faced an enemy they couldn't predict or control. As Olivia's team returned safely to the fleet, Samuel gave the order for the final push. The Arcturian defense collapsed entirely, their remaining ships surrendering or fleeing into deep space. 3 days later, representatives from all coalition species gathered on the captured Overmind hub. Alan, Maya, Samuel, and Olivia stood together, watching as former slave species signed treaties of mutual defense and cooperation. "What happens now?" Maya asked, looking out at the stars of a galaxy suddenly free from its false gods. Samuel smiled. "Now we rebuild. Together." Alan nodded. The Arcturians feared humanity would bring chaos to their perfect order. "And we did," Olivia added with a smile. "No," Alan corrected, watching the diverse aliens working side by side. "We brought something much more powerful." "What's that?" asked Krell, joining them. Alan's eyes reflected the light of distant stars, no longer sources of fear, but of promise. "Hope."